What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about another round of revision for your poems, another thing to look at and improve. And this time we're going to find some phrases that are not quite doing the job they're supposed to, or really, they're not quite doing the job that they used to do. So let me start with some examples and then we'll talk about the deal. Earlier, I heard someone yell, I guess there was a person running down the hall or something. I heard someone say, if I could type, hold your horses. And in theory, that's a great phrase. You might imagine some horses, maybe on a wagon, and there's a driver who's trying to hold them back and slow them down. And maybe the horses are a metaphor for some desire, and that can be a cool thing. You know, I could imagine, like, in the 1500s, somebody doing a painting of this and it being really good. But that's not what happens, right? If I hear hold your horses, I do not imagine some horses. I do not imagine holding them. I just instantly translate it in my mind to slow down. Oh, that means slow down. That's just another way of saying slow down. I completely skip over all the cool stuff. And that's a problem, because in a poem, we have the layer of meaning, like what's what, what's happening. There's that layer. But we also have another layer on top of that with all the good stuff, all the metaphor, the comparison, the images, the poetic stuff that makes it fun, that makes it more than just like, okay, tell me what happened, you know? And this doesn't have that. This has been eroded away over the years, and now there's just the meaning. So how did that happen? There's nothing wrong with the phrase. It's wonderful. If you were the first guy to say it, you know, you get some points. But hold your horses is what we call a cliche. It's what we call a dead metaphor. It's been used so many times that we don't think of it as its own words. We don't think of it as its own images. We just package it into a little box and say, oh, it means slow down. Okay? And you don't want that. In a poem, you don't want that. So let me show you one that's even worse. Okay, one that's like not valuable at all. So earlier I heard someone say, kick the bucket. And this is a great, fun thing to say, right? It's got some nice consonants going on, the k sound 3 times. And often these kind of things catch on because they are fun to say, like hold your horses has the alliteration. Kick the bucket has the k in there. It's nice and bouncy and crunchy and fun to say. But the problem is, like, kick the bucket, as you know, I'm sure you've heard it, or you've heard one of the phrases that has branched off of it, like a bucket list is something you want to do before you die. Kick the bucket means to die. If someone kicks the bucket, they died. But the problem is, what does that mean? Like, do you kick a bucket when you die? Is there some tradition where you, like, kick a bucket to the Grim Reaper or something? I don't think so. I don't even know what to imagine. Okay, so the thing with hold your horses was people don't imagine it, but at least they could. Like, at least there is something to imagine. And if you imagine holding some horses, it's kind of interesting, and there's some conflict, there's some interesting stuff going on. But if you imagine kicking a bucket, it's like, what is that even, what's going on here? I looked it up, I Googled, and there are some theories. It's one of those phrases where, like, people go, oh, well, it could mean this, but none of them have any real claim to being supported, and none of them really sound good anyway. So kick the bucket doesn't even have a chance, really. It's like hold your horses, at least people could imagine that image. But kick the bucket, it's like, I don't even know. You'd have to really work hard and spin some lines setting up an idea in order to get us to hear that idea. Or you would have to be so focused on the sound. Like if you really needed some k sounds and you were really doing a like fast-paced, you know, trochaic rap rhythm thing, and you just needed to say some stuff. Okay, but if you're thinking about the meaning at all and the metaphor layer of meaning at all, it's got nothing. So that's no good. There are some other examples that are not quite as bad. Like, for example, earlier I was looking at a poem and I saw a person, and this is kind of a nice, I saw a person described as a train wreck. We've probably heard that. Um, and if you were the first person to say that, that'd be awesome, right? If you're like, hey, he's a train wreck, and we imagine a train crashing and these horrible sounds and human misery and mechanical, just twisted metal and all kinds of crazy stuff. And then you're like, oh, yeah, that is describing like a person with a bad social life. That's kind of fun. That's kind of nice. That's kind of cool. But it isn't the first time. We've heard that. It's the title of a movie. It's a thing. It's a cliche. It's a dead metaphor. It's not that great today. Okay? So train wreck, even though it sounds kind of nice, it's got some good consonants. All these so far have some good consonants. But it's not quite as much as it used to be. It's just like, hey, it means that person is a mess. But if I read that, I would not imagine a train. I would not imagine a wreck, Whereas the first time I read it, maybe I did. So what we want to do today is you want to look through your writing and find some cliches. We don't worry about replacing them yet. That'll be, the next step. We just want to identify them. And the step I'm going to add is that it's really hard to identify these in your own. Your eyes just glaze over it. So I want you to share with a partner. Look at theirs. Try to find some cliches. You don't have to suggest how to change it, although you could. You don't have to find every single one, because really everything we say is a dead metaphor in one way or another. Like if we say the hands of a clock, well, those are kind of metaphor, but not really. And you just look and try to find as many as you can. That's the first step.